So welcome, Sue.
Hi, Karen.
I'm so bloody thrilled to have you on because as a lot of people won't know, we were neighbours for some time, and I've been watching what you're doing, and Sue, I absolutely bloody love it. So you've just, I don't know, like some people kind of retire. We'll talk more about that and then just do nothing. But you sort of contacted me and said, "Will you come and help me do this group?" And if actually I said no because I didn't feel like I was going to contribute to it. And I think you did a bloody great job without me. Anyway, I think you did a fucking good job. But you organised this amazing event for all your caravan buddies and everything else. So I really wanted to get you on and talk about that because we often have people on here that and rightly so, who are doing great things and have got great businesses, and are changing the world and everything else. But what I don't want people to feel like if they're not changing the world, that what they're doing isn't big, because it is big and it makes a difference to people's life. So here we are, and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really thrilled to be invited by you. There's no doubt about it. My husband Mick and I are avid listeners to your podcasts, and we just love listening to them. So I feel really honoured to be asked to be on. So thanks very much.
Oh, my pleasure. And I'm bloody glad to have you because what you did was fabulous, and other people need to hear about it. So people are going to say, "What'd she do? What'd she do?" I better get into it, right? So you are a member of the Traveller Caravans Australia. And tell us more about that for a start, because that's what instigated all this.
Okay, so where it all come about, we purchased a Traveller caravan 6 years ago, I think it was. Traveller is an old brand of van that's been in Australia for a long time, made in Australia, well-made caravans. And ours is a 2008 model, so it's not a new van by any stretch of the imaginations, but it's a beautiful big 23'6" caravan, which we love dearly. Anyway, for some reason, as things go wrong with caravans, it doesn't matter what brand it is, they all have their little idiosyncrasies. I got onto Facebook, as I do, and thought, oh, maybe there's a group where we can find out how to, fix things or look up things if anyone else has had the same issues. And sure enough, along there was the Traveller Caravan Owners page. And I thought, oh, beauty. So we joined in there, and, we were watching that for quite some time. And I noticed that they'd had a get-together happening over in Port Elliot around about 2000 and I think it was about 2018 or 19. And we thought, oh, we couldn't make it over to South Australia at the time. And anyway, that's okay. So we just, there's always interesting stuff coming up on the group. And they just seemed a really nice bunch of people. Like, they'd answer your questions quickly. They seemed to be knowledgeable, experienced, and just really, really helpful. And I thought, gee, they're a good group. Anyway, so that's okay. I left work. I worked up at Central Gippsland Health for 7 years. And in 2021, there was lots of changes happening. I was in the executive team. There was lots and lots of changes happening up at the hospital, and I thought, it's time to move on. And we love to travel in our van, so we thought, blow it. We'll leave work. We sold our farm. We were homeless, basically. Our home caravan, which we're really happy about. So off we went, and we travelled for 6.5 months in 2021. And that's okay. We were ahead of COVID all the way up the coast. COVID had just obviously hit in the March.
Yeah.
And we travelled up the coast, and we were ahead of COVID all the way. We got up to Cairns, and we thought, oh, we can't get back down via New South Wales. We've got to go up and around. We've got to go up through Northern Territory, down through to South Australia. So we thought, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We don't have a home to go home to. Times, of no essence to us. We can do whatever we want. So down we went, down to South Australia, and we thought, oh, we want to have a good look around South Australia. And, of course, all the time there's posts coming up on the Facebook group, on the Traveller Caravan Owners Facebook group. And I went, oh, there's a get-together in Waikerie. We should go. While we're in South Australia, we're going to time it. Let's go. So anyway, we hung around South Australia for sort of 3.5 weeks waiting for the get-together to happen. And we did some fantastic exploring. We did the Eyre Peninsula. We did all along the Murray and all this sort of stuff. And I was getting really excited about going to this get-together because I love meeting people. I love talking. I love meeting people. So anyway, we were one of the first to get to Waikerie. And it was just phenomenal to go into that caravan park at Waikerie, and here's all these traveller caravans. So it was just like going to sort of a new school, you know. You're in there with all these people you're going to be with for the next few days. And look, we had an absolute ball. So how that came about was back in the group actually started in 2016 by a guy from Melbourne who started just the group, just the Facebook group. His name is David Horrocks from Melbourne. And there was another lady called Susan Narcisi, I think it was. And the group was just going well, you know, just by chatting and chatting. Anyway, one of the girls from South Australia, Sandy Hinsleth, said, well, look, seeing the group so popular, why don't we get together? Thinking that they might just get a few vans. Well, that wasn't the case. They decided to do it down at Port Hughes, and that was in 2019. And she thought, oh, she might get someone to help her. And Roger Trimper is from Renmark. So Sandy lives near Gawler and Roger lives in Renmark, and they've never met. They'd seen each other's posts and all that sort of stuff, never met. So they decided to have this get-together in Port Hughes, and they'd never seen each other face-to-face until they got to Port Hughes. And then things just went on from there. The attendees that went loved it so much. They said, let's do this again, and opened it up to different states, of course. Traveller is very big in South Australia because the biggest dealership is in South Australia, even though they're made in Melbourne. So Northland Caravans are very supportive of the people who buy the vans, and they were actually putting up money to help them run the get-togethers as far as a band and things like that. Because we're a non-financial club. We have no president, no secretary, no money exchanges hands. We're just likewise people that love to get together and chat and stuff like that. So that's how the group come about. So Waikerie, they had another one in Waikerie after Port Hughes, which I think they had about 30 or so vans. But the one that we went to, we ended up with 60 vans.
Wow.
Which was just phenomenal. And, you know, we made lifetime friends there, which was really special. And we weren't the only ones that happened to. And anyway, so that's okay. We come home. And when I got home, we'd been home 2 days. And I got a phone call from the hospital, and they asked me to be a team leader for the COVID testing site in Brazil. And they said, you've got to run it. You've got to do the whole thing yourself. Do the rosters, you know, stock the place, run it as you see fit. And my life has, my working career has mainly been behind a computer, doing, you know, that sort of administration type work. So I jumped into the COVID testing site with all feet, all arms, everything in, and I just absolutely loved it. It was a very high pressure job, but I wanted to make it fun because of the pressure that we were under, the demand that was on us from the government, the demand that was on us from the public as well. And I thought, you know, we've got to make this a good place to be, because we one day it'd rain, the next day we're in 35-degree heat, you know, 4 seasons at Gippsland. So I really, really put my whole soul into there, and it was a huge success. People wanted to come and work there. And we all felt like we were giving something back to the community. You know, that was a really important part of that job. And I got a real rush out of all of that. Every day there was adrenaline, you know, like one day we ended up, I think we had something like, I don't know, 700, 800 cars through in one day. And I had to think on my feet, how are we going to get these cars in? We can't block the roads. We've got to get people through in a timely manner. People were stressed. They were upset. You know, COVID was a real worry to a lot of people. A lot of people in that testing site were positive. So I was dealing with a whole lot of emotions through that 3 months I was there, and I absolutely loved it. And it made me realise I don't want to sit behind a computer anymore. I want to do something where I'm giving back to the community. So that sort of led into last year, heading up to the get together for the Traveller Caravan Group that was in Berry, up on the Murray. We were excited to go again, and we knew it was going to be big. They had about 90 vans booked in. And just before we left, my daughter said to me, "Mum, why don't you have a get-together in Sale?" And I went, "Oh, that's a good idea." She said, "There's so much to offer here. We've got the beautiful showgrounds here." She said, "You could do that easy." And as soon as she said it, my cogs just started to tick, because I hadn't worked sort of since April the year before, and I was getting itchy feet, and I thought, I've got to do something. And along come that feeling again of when I got the COVID site going, I could do an event here that's, you know, different but the same sort of thing to the COVID site. And the whole trip over to Berry, I had already nearly organised in my head what I was going to do, but I had no idea what sort of reaction and what interest there was going to be for people to want to come to Sale. So anyway, I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to get this going? Where am I going to get some ideas from? So I went to the local information centre, told them what I was going to do, and they said, "Oh, yeah, no, that's really good. We'll get behind you and take some brochures with you." So that's okay. Did all that, got my goodie bag, bought the Middle of Everywhere T-shirt, which is the most fantastic slogan as far as marketing goes to bring people to an area. It's just a fabulous slogan. Anyway, so I bought the Middle of Everywhere T-shirt. And when we had our official day over at Berry, mind you, there's nearly 200 people there, I got up on the microphone, as I do, did my spiel, had my brochures, told everyone about Sale, and I thought, look, if I get 10 to a dozen caravans, I'll run it. But if I get 6, well, I won't bother. And anyway, so I did my spiel, and enthusiastic as I get and passionate about things as I do, I got off the microphone and I looked up, and there was a queue of people wanting to talk to me.
Wow.
And they said to me, "Wow, we've got to come over there. We've got to come and see this place." And they said, "Do you work for the information centre?" And I said, "No." And they said, "Well, you damn well should." You just explained it. We can just see ourselves there. So I was really excited about this. So I put up sort of an expressions of interest onto the Facebook page, and my phone never stopped. It pinged and it pinged and it pinged for the next probably 2 weeks. And I had around about 55 caravans booked in within 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I thought, oh, okay. I've got to try and get something really good organised. And so we came home from there, and people were really excited, and, you know, trying to get dates to fit in with everyone. I thought, no, I'm just going to pick dates. And Roger and Sandy had said to me, keep it simple. Don't make too much work for yourself. And I thought, well, that's really good advice. But I wanted to make it special because, you know, it's a special place where we live. Gippsland is beautiful, and there's so much to see. And I thought, right, okay, what am I going to do? All these things I wrote down, what I wanted, and I thought, we've got no money. And I'm not going to use my money. You know, what am I going to do? So I thought, I'll go to, and I know that at the Berry get together, the caravan park paid for the band. They had 200 people there. So, of course, they were happy enough to sponsor the band to come and play. And I thought, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I rang up the tourism and event coordinator at our local shire, the Wellington Shire, and her name's Ashley Smurl. And I told her about what I wanted. She said, okay, tell me the history, which I did. And she said, what do you want to get out of this? And it was like I was having an interview. And I thought, because she said, it's not just about who's coming. It's about what you want because you're the facilitator. And I went, oh, okay. I want them to have fun. I'm a fun sort of person. I want them to have a lot of fun and I want them to really enjoy it. And she said, so what do you need? And I said, I want a band, a really good band. And she said, do you know who you want? And I said, yep. And she said, have you contacted them? And I said, nope. And she said, well, you do that and you get back to me. And she said, what else do you want? And I said, I want a really good logo. I want something catchy because I want people to think, oh, wow, I need to go to that. So she got back to me within a few days and came up with the Sail Traveller Extravaganza. And that was just perfect because I thought extravaganza, it's out there. We've got to get into it. Anyway, then I thought the band, okay, that's the most important thing. Saturday is our official day. I need a good band, and a band had played at my friend's 50th 10 years ago, and I didn't know whether they were still together or what was going on because I did hear that their lead guitarist had passed away about 3.5 years ago. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they're still playing. So anyway, I rang Jeff Cross of the Uncles, and he said, that's right, he didn't answer initially, and I thought, oh, I better think of someone else. But it's wedding time over in Gippsland, sort of March, April, and I knew it was going to be hard to get someone or a band to come and play, but I didn't want just a band. I wanted someone or a band that was entertaining. Like you're looking at an average of about 65 years old for our group. And I thought, we can't have any of the new modern stuff. We don't need the doof stuff. We want we want, the 70s and 80s and that sort of stuff. Anyway, so within a couple of weeks, Jeff rang me back and he said, oh, Sue, he said, really good to hear from you. He said, it just so happens we're thinking about reforming the band after the guitarist had passed away. And I said, oh, please, can you please come? I said, I really need you. And he said, tell me the history. So I told him the history of the group and what I wanted out of the weekend. And he said, oh, well, your demographic of people is who we like to play to. You can have a joke with them. You can have fun. And he said, it might be a good one for us to come back to. So he said, I'll talk to the boys and I'll let you know. So I was so excited by this time. I was absolutely beside myself. So I put that aside and I started to plan everything around that. And I always had a pen and paper beside my bed because my mind didn't shut off, and I just kept thinking of more things. What can we do? And Ashley from the Shire was absolutely fantastic and supported me no end. But we still didn't know anything about money. I didn't know where it was going to come from. So I was a little nervous and a little bit apprehensive and thought, well, don't get too over the top because you might have to back off on a few things. And anyway, so Jeff rang me back. No, I rang Jeff within about a week, no answer. And then I rang another member of the band and he said, oh, I'm up fishing in Eden. Oh, look, I'll chase it up and, oh, yeah, I think it'll be okay, but I don't know how much we're going to be. And I'm thinking, oh, no. So, cut a long story short, Jeff rang me back the next week and he said, I was very apprehensive when I answered the phone because I thought, what's he going to say? And he said, Sue, we'd love to do it for you. And I was just absolutely over the moon. And I said, how much are you going to be? And he said, look, it'll cost $1,700. And I'm thinking, $1,700? Okay. I said, righto, leave it with me. Yep, book it in and I'll get back to you. So I thought, uh-oh, here we go. And so I rang Ashley and I said, I've got the band. And she said, how much are they? And I said, $1,700. And she goes, how about I give you $2,000? And I just about fell off my chair. She said, they do grants to clubs like ours where we're bringing people into the community. And I said, really? She said, yeah. She said, you got $2,000. You can spend it on food or entertainment, your choice. So I thought, right, that's the band locked in. still got $300 to spend. And being a typical woman, it was burning a hole in my pocket. And I thought, right, what else can I do that's going to be another lift for the club or for the weekend? And there was a young boy that I'd heard of on the local Facebook group. Someone had put up a post saying, does anyone know of someone who play acoustic music in the background at my daughter's party, whatever? And this name, Dane Nichols, kept coming up. And I thought, I wonder who this Dane Nichols is. So I looked him up, listened to his music, and I thought, he's perfect. I'll put him on Sunday. So he's a young and upcoming artist in the area, and he'd won the Junior Citizenship of the Year over in Stratford. And I thought, he must be a level-headed young kid. He can come along as well. So I rang him. He said, yes, I'll come and play for a couple of hours. So he came along, and he was $300. So there's my money spent. And then I kept thinking about lots of things. One of the requests was, can you please get the roulettes to fly over? And I went, I've got some contacts, but I'm not sure they're quite that good to get the roulettes to come. So that was a bit of a joke between, us members and things in the club. Anyway, so then I thought about, let's have a photo booth. Photo booth would be fun. Have it over at the Glass House, or there's a massive big committee room at the showgrounds. We'll have a photo booth there because that's always fun. So anyway, did my Google researching, found a company in Mubu North that has a photo booth. And I thought, oh, great. And told him the story about it all. He said, I'll waive the $200 fuel fee to come down. You just got to pay the cost to have the photo booth. And I thought, oh, how much is this going to be? Because I've got no money. Like I'm fresh out of money now. I've spent the $2,000. And anyway, so he sent me the invoice, $490. And I thought, oh, there goes the photo booth. And I thought, I know. Go to the local people that will get benefit out of all these people coming to the community. And Ken Bailey, who manages Sporting Legends in Sale, has a traveller caravan, and they were coming to the event. And I thought, I'll ask Ken. So I asked Ken, and he said, send me the invoice and I'll pay it. Just like that.
Wow.
So when you actually start to look, doors are open for you, unexpectedly. It's just a matter of explaining to people what you want to do, what it's going to do for the community, and doors open. There's no doubt about it. We bought a smoker off our local butcher, Ranford's Butchers in Sale, and he brought it around and delivered it. And I was telling him about the get-together. He said, I'll give you 10% off all our meat in the shop. Just get the members to come in with their traveller badge, and I'll give them 10% off. Just phenomenal, and it doesn't hurt to ask. As I said, then doors open. So as time went on, this is all around December, and I'd picked the end of March for our dates, hoping to goodness the weather was going to be good. And leading up to the time, people were dropping off, the list to be able to come for lots of reasons, health, predominantly a lot of them. COVID was still around. But I had people inquiring from Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia, Victoria, and the most exciting part I found was that it wasn't people that had been to the groups in South Australia. It was new people that wanted to come. So I was really proactive in getting up a really good invitation on our Facebook group, because your first impression is your most lasting impression. So I made sure I got lots of photos of the middle of everywhere, of the 90-mile beach and the swing bridge and all the things that would have interested those people. The Motor Museum over in Maffra, the Rabina, the little electric boat that goes down a river, all the things that would have interested our people. I had this flyer made up. Thanks again to the Shire. They did all that for me. I made all that up, and that was my first invitation to come to Sale. And I think that was an important factor in getting people to say, wow, we really want to go there. You've got to have that really first impression, as I said, is your one. So anyway, that all worked out okay. People were dropping off, as I said, through sickness and problems and all that sort of stuff. And I got down to 45 vans that were going to be my initial gathering from what I could see. Anyway, so we went around. The Greyhound Club were fantastic. They gave out gift vouchers for people to attend, and we needed sponsors. We needed people to we want them to come to our business. So here you are, here's vouchers and things like that. There was all sorts of sponsorship, which is you need in these sort of events when you're a non-financial club. We even had a member of the club donate a carbon monoxide alarm to put in a caravan as part of a raffle, because that was another thing I come up with. Let's have some lucky door prizes at our dance party on Saturday night. Because over in Berry, they had raffles over there, and they had 50 raffles, and it went on and on and on. And it lost its momentum. And I thought, I'm not doing raffles. I'll just have, prizes at the door, lucky door prizes. So I only had about half a dozen prizes, but, even one of the members out of the group donated something, which I thought was really special. That was really good. So anyway, we got closer to the time. People were getting really excited. It really gathered momentum on the Facebook page. I'd been down to the showgrounds, spoken to the caretakers that were there. So we've got 45 vans coming. He said, look, they don't need to pre-book. Just as they come in, just tell them they're with a traveller group and along they can come. So, yeah, that all sounded easy. Everyone was happy with that. So as a lead up to the weekend coming, I was down there a lot, just making sure everything was fine. Where are we going to have happy hour? Where are we going to do this? And then the Shire turned around and said, how about we have a movie night on Friday night? We'll get a blow-up movie screen and we'll play The Man from Snowy River on that. And I thought, wow, that'll set a really good vibe. We're at the foothills of the high country. Said, yep, that sounds good. I'd organised food vans. I've organised food vans for Saturday lunch, Saturday dinner and Sunday dinner. So I thought, yep, that'll be good. So my band was in place. My singer on Sunday night was in place. Everything was in place. I had absolutely nothing to worry about. Well, that didn't last very long. So I had a phone call from the president of the Ag Society the Saturday before the event, and he said, can you give me a call? And I said, yeah, okay. So I called him and he said, the caretakers are shot through. And I said, I don't have to clean toilets all weekend, do I? That's all I was worried about. I'm thinking I'm going to have 90 people there and I'm going to be cleaning toilets. And he said, no, look, we've got a plan in place, but you'd better come up and we'll have a meeting to see what you'd pre-organised with the previous caretakers. So we went and did that, and the president of the Ag Society is a lovely guy, but he's not a caravaner. And anyway, I was a little nervous, but I thought, no, it'll be right. If we just keep an eye on things will be okay. So most people were getting to the extravaganza a couple of days or 3 or 4 days before the actual event. I'd had a program put out, again, done by the Shire. Mel from the Information Centre could read my brain to what I wanted on a program, and the program was out and absolutely fantastic. And I kept people on the page, please let me know if you're not going to attend, because I'm doing show bags and it'll save us doing name tags. And the Shire did the name tags. They were just really, really supportive. Anyway, so the lead up, we decided we'd go up there on the Wednesday prior to the weekend of the extravaganza, and there were already about maybe 6 vans there. And it just happened. They were just queuing outside on the road to come in, and I kept looking and thinking, I don't believe this is happening. Like, it was such a thrill.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm thinking, I made this happen, and it was the biggest adrenaline rush. Even though, I didn't get anything out of it other than just the thrill of having these people come in from all over Australia to meet other people and get together and have a good time. So it was huge. It was really good. And we, of course, had unofficial happy hours
Yeah.
and to the Friday. And a few people didn't turn up. We only ended up with 33 vans. I thought I was having 45, but we only ended up with 33, which was fine because it's still 6 people, and it was a nice small group. It was quite an intimate group in the sense that we could all just chat together. There were no people not going off in groups or anything like that. We all stayed together.
Yeah.
So that was a huge thrill to think it was finally here and everything was going to come together. But again,
more.
There was more. The poor people that came in to help get everything together in the showgrounds, the standing caretakers, I suppose, came down from Albury on the Tuesday, and our caravan started to arrive on the Wednesday.
Oh.
So it was bedlam. It was an absolute baptism of fire for them, but we coped. There were a few tense moments, but we got people slotted in. But the caretakers, the previous caretakers, had wiped the computers, so they didn't know who was in the park, when, where, who'd paid what. So the poor people didn't just have our or my group to deal with. They had everyday people coming into that.
No.
But we'd paid, and so there was a lot of stress. There was a lot of angst. It was bedlam. But thank goodness ours didn't have to pre-book because they could just come in and pay as we went. So that was all okay. Friday was sort of our start of our official happy hour. And I had a couple of registration afternoons for people to come in, get their show bags, which we put together with the help of the Information Centre at the Shire, and get their name badges and things. And I was on my last registration I was locking up the room where we had everything, and I looked out, and here they all were sitting in a circle, talking and chatting, and I thought, it's happening. And I got so emotional. I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, Sue, bring yourself together, like it's just phenomenal to see them all there. It was just great. Anyway, I walked out and they all cheered. They all looked at me and they clapped and cheered. And I'm thinking, what's all this about? And I said, what are you doing? And they said, the roulettes just flew over, and they all had this smoke out, and they did a formation over the top of the showgrounds. And I said, I know, I organised that, which I hadn't at all. So they had actually thought I had done it. It was just all about the timing, and they were just wrapped. It was really, really funny. It was really funny. We had a big laugh about that. So then we got on to the Saturday, which was our official day, and we had the welcome at I did a speech at 11 o'clock and just thanking not just the people for coming, but also the sponsors for really supporting us and allowing people to get some discounts within the businesses, and also to the Shire of $1,000, because without that we wouldn't have had the band and things. So the day went on really well. We had a fantastic lunch provided by Gippsland Baked Potatoes, which were just beautiful. And he was from down the valley, and so that all went well. We had a guest speaker come in who has a business in Sale, and he weighs caravans and vehicles and things like that because of the legality of towing vehicles nowadays. It's quite a minefield, and if you get pulled up and you're overweight, well, that's where you stay. So it's a big important thing. He was our guest speaker. Ryan Fraser was our guest speaker, and he had 4 bookings as a result of coming to our group, and he gave a 10% discount too, which was really lovely of him. And there were a lot of fantastic questions from the members to Ryan. and he was supposed to talk for an hour, and I think he was there for 2 hours. So great topic, and a lot of people like to hear about things that's associated with caravanning and tips and tricks. And I know over at Berry we had a guy talking about solar and going off grid and lithium batteries, all that sort of stuff, and a lot of people got a lot of interest out of that, same as Ryan. So that was really good. That all went off well, and we're all looking forward to our dance party. And then the guy from the potatoes rang me on his way back to Traralgon, and he said, I haven't passed the other food van that you were going to have for dinner. And he was from down Traralgon way as well. He said, are you sure he's coming? And I said, well, I presumed so. I hadn't heard anything. I contacted them and said that there was a lot more people in the park, so maybe bring some more produce along, because you might be able to sell more to the other members, not just our group.
Yeah.
And I rang them and I rang them and I rang them and I rang them, and there was no answer. So I was starting to get a little bit nervous by about 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'd gone over to the band to make sure the boys were happy and setting up for the dance party. And as I was walking back to the caravan, I got a message from the people that were supposed to be there and said, we're not coming because I can't find a babysitter.
Oh.
And I said, I'd booked you in October. Would you not have had plan A, B, and C in place if the babysitters hadn't come? No, she said, I haven't, and we're not coming. And I thought, I've got 66 people to feed plus the band. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So I walked around all the caravans and said, this is what's happened. And they said, the potatoes at lunchtime were so beautiful and we're so full, we'll just have toast.
Oh, my God.
So I felt really bad, but there was nothing I could do. We were going to go and get pizzas and all that sort of stuff, but everyone said, no, it's okay. We're okay. So, look, the Saturday night, I had really hyped the band up because I know how good they are. And everyone's saying, oh, yeah, sure. They can't be as good as what she said they are. Anyway, the night came, the band started at 7:30. We had our great giveaway prizes. And the night was just phenomenal. They played for 4 hours. They had 4 10-minute breaks. That's all they had. And they did entertain. They are absolutely fabulous. And I'd been talking to some men during the weekend, and I said, you're coming to the dance party? Oh, yeah, but I won't be dancing. I don't dance. I haven't danced in 30 years. I'm not dancing. And you know what? There were a couple of times when I looked around. Well, I was on the dance floor every dance, but they were all up and dancing. And I went back and took photos and videos just to prove those people actually did get up and dance. We had the best time and a whole lot of high fives at the end. And Roger, who's one of the main organisers over in South Australia, came up to me and high-fived me and said, they were even better than what you said. He said, I didn't think it'd live up to how you hyped them up, but he said they were actually better than what you said. And I had another gentleman come up to me, and he wasn't drunk by any stretch of the imagination at all, and he gave me a hug and he said, Sue, I haven't enjoyed myself this much in 30 years.
Wow.
And I thought, how good is that? And it just made everything all worth it. You know, it was just, I thought, I've done it for this reason, to make people happy.
Yeah.
You know, and just to see everyone sitting there talking and everyone up dancing, and everyone was dancing with everyone, you know, it was just the best night. And then the band said to me at the end of the night, they announced that without me actually really wanting them, they wouldn't have got back together.
Wow.
So I thought, you know, it's about passion. It's about, when you're passionate about something, to really follow it and make it happen, And I thought, I've changed lots of people's
Yep.
life in one weekend. You know,
Yep.
I made them dance.
Ah,
I made them dance. I had the band reformed. And I thought, how special is this? And they had a new saxophonist in their band that they had wanted to sort of produce into their band. And he actually used to play with the Kylie Minogue band.
oh, wow.
He travelled the world with Kylie Minogue in Japan and everywhere, and he was absolutely phenomenal. I reckon they did a better rendition of Baker Street than Jerry Rafferty, honestly.
Wow.
It was everyone actually stopped dancing to listen.
Wow.
They were exceptional, and I thought, and I was dancing away, looking, thinking, it's actually happening. You know, it's come to fruition, and it's been, even though I felt like a duck, you know,
Yeah.
paddling away, but underneath I was going like hell. It was all worth every little bit of it. You know, just phenomenal. And people, the next day, you know, I said, can people come back? And we had to tidy up and clean the room where we had the band and stuff. I would have had a dozen people there helping me do that. You know, they didn't have to. I said, it's okay, I'll do it. No way, we're going to come and help. You know, we vacuumed and we washed, we cleaned the toilets, we did all that sort of stuff. And I thought, you know, they're like family. You know, they're just a great bunch of people. And how many times they kept telling me they'd had such a wonderful weekend. Sunday, everyone went out travelling to all over the middle of everywhere. We had happy hour with Dane on Sunday evening. The pad Thai guy from Rosedale come with the most amazing Thai food. But he cooks it as you order it. So it can be quite a slow queue.
Yeah.
And some people were in a queue for an hour and a half, but you know what? They didn't care.
Yeah.
They didn't care because they was over there having their own happy hour in the queue while still listening to Dane. You know, it was just amazing. It was so good. And then on the Monday, that was our last day. 17 vans left, which left us with 16 because the weather was looking pretty poor. But people were still out. They were still travelling around. They were still, and Monday night of our last happy hour, which I never expected this in a million years, I was thanking everyone for coming and how successful it had been and everything. And they showered me with chocolates, roses, champagne. And I didn't want that. I did it for them, you know, and I did it for me in the sense that I was giving back.
Yeah.
But they were so appreciative. They showered me with all these presents. It was just amazing. It was just amazing.
Isn't that awesome? So what was your greatest learning out of all of this?
I think the greatest learning was things go wrong at the last minute. And it did. Nearly every day things went wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know what, they're that sort of people, and that they all coped. And I tried not to panic, even though people would say to me, Sue, just slow down. I'm thinking, but I've got to get this organised, because if I don't get it organised, you know, you're going to have a good time. So I think my greatest learning is to be well prepared, to be really well organised, even though at the last minute that food van didn't turn up, and that was completely out of my control. And I did a backup plan to fit in, even though the potato man said, do you want me to come back? Because he said, I've got plenty of potatoes and I can come back and do dinner. And I said, I don't know how many of us can eat two massive big baked potatoes in one day. So it was really lovely of him to offer to do that.
Yeah.
But it also taught me to reach out for a little bit of support and help, you know, because the Shire were phenomenal in helping me do a lot of that. And even though everything was a lot of my ideas, she backed me up with everything that I was thinking and said, well, how about if you do this, you know, we can help you out. We bought all the outdoor pallet furniture so people could sit on that the Shire with the middle of everywhere on it. And, you know, that was really good. People used them as seats. People used them as, you know, coffee tables for their wine and stuff like that. And so it's to, even though I did it all on my own, I ended up reaching out for support from the people who knew how to do things and make it easy for me. And they certainly did that.
Yeah.
They certainly, well, I wouldn't have had the band. And, you know, that was the highlight of the weekend.
Yeah.
And people talked about that band still on Facebook today. They're still,
Wow.
you know, Baker Street will never sound as good as what it was that night. And, you know, just the fun we had, you know, just it was all about fun. You know, I had a couple that arrived the same day as us, and they're lovely people from Queensland. Oh, no, sorry, they're from New South Wales. And they said, we've been caravanning all our life and we've never, ever been to something like this. And I'm not sure how it's going to go. I hope it's okay. And I said, you will have a great time. And they just had a ball. And he was one of the ones who said he wasn't going to dance. And he had a fantastic time. They're the most loveliest people. And the feedback I've got since, I was talking to a couple just the other day, they're from Beachmere in Queensland, and in the row of caravans where they were, they have kept friends with those people. And because these people from Queensland went down to Berwick Showgrounds, parked their van there, went to the flower show and used Berwick as their base. Yeah. You know, they were catching up with other couples that they'd met at the extravaganza, and I thought that's what it's all about.
Yep.
You know, they too have made lifelong friends, as we have, and that's what it's all about. That's the most special thing of people saying, yep, we're catching up, and when they come to Queensland, they're going to come and stay, and this and that, and I think by having the small group allowed that to happen. I think if it gets too big, you lose that intimacy of everyone chatting to each other.
Yeah, yeah.
No, and on our name tags, I put where everyone was from, and that started up conversation. You know, for others say, "Oh, you're from Beachmere. I go up there for holidays or whatever," and on they go, and the conversations start up. You know,
it's like, and connection has been one of the biggest problems, like, you know, since COVID, like people have become really disconnected. So to have anything, you know, like as a get together where people can actually form, you know, connections, and connections save lives. So when you said before, you know, I've changed that many lives, and you were sort of talking surface level, you know, people dance and everything else, but to a much deeper level, you know, potentially you've kept people alive and connected, you know, just by having friendships. And we shouldn't, I know that's easy to say, oh no, that's going a bit far, Karen, you're stretching it a bit. I think we can dismiss the power of friendships and connections a lot, you know, pretty easy because they seem superficial, but it's not, because in times of need, when people are really feeling at their lowest, you know, having those special connections and just people that they feel they can reach out to is life-saving. So
absolutely. You know, as I said, you know, this couple said, oh, well, we don't normally do this sort of stuff, but now they won't be frightened to do another one. You know, when we went away earlier in the month, we went up the coast for a couple of weeks, and we were at Dalmini at a caravan park, and there were a couple behind us, and I think they'd been there a day, maybe a day or two, and we'd just say hello and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I was cooking something. I can't think even what it was. And this woman said to me, oh, gee, that smells nice. What are you cooking? Whatever. And we got chatting. And, you know, we have now forged a friendship with those couple. And I was telling them about the extravaganza and what I was organising in Sale. And they said, oh, and they didn't have a travel caravan. They had a Regent caravan. And I showed them a copy of the program, and they said, but we can't come because we don't have a travel caravan. And I said, but that doesn't matter. It's my event. I can ask who I want to ask. And they said, well, we'll be in Sale around that time. And I said, well, come. And they said, oh, no, we can't. We don't have a travel caravan. And I said, but our group isn't going to ostracise you because you're not in a traveller caravan. I want you to come because you're my friends, and I want you to come. And, you know, those people came and Deb helped me enormously over the weekend. And they're the sort of people that I'd told the group about them and how this Regent caravan was going to turn up, and that they were scared they were going to get egged. And they said, oh, that's good. Let's really, you know, give them some banter and stuff. And, you know, those couple fitted in like they were part of the traveller group, you know, and it just goes to show that even though they felt a little bit uncomfortable, they were still made feel very welcome.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's very powerful. And you know what? They have now made friends out of that group, even though they haven't got the travel caravan. They've got friends out of that as well. Yeah. And it's just so powerful. So powerful. And you know, people travel large distances in their vans to do this sort of stuff. They want to make friends. They want to contribute to the communities as they travel, as well as to their final destination. And I asked them all, it wasn't sort of until about the Sunday I started to think, I wonder what contributions been made into the community. So I asked them at happy hour, can you please just do me a little bit of not a summary, as I don't want to know what you spent your money on, but just an average of what you've spent since you've been in Gippsland. And they got back to me, and there was an average of $1,000 to $1,100 per van.
Wow.
So that's $33,000 has come into our community here in Sale and surroundings in Gippsland. And I thought, you know what, the Shire's grant of $2,000 was really quite well spent for them.
Yep. When
you compare to what that group contributed back.
Yeah.
And that again is another important thing. It's not all about money, but a little thing that really didn't take me that long to put together has brought so much happiness to businesses and to friendships and things. You know, and that's what I got out of it. I just, it was fabulous.
I think it's bloody wonderful. And yes, a shout out to Ash at the Shire, because she does a phenomenal job with the middle of everywhere. And I've got a lot of time for her. The other thing is we should give a shout out to the band, because I think you said they were called the Uncles. Is that what you said they were called? Right.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure we were clear about the name of it to give them a good shout out, because they're obviously bloody fantastic and deserve a really good shout out. What advice would you give to other? I absolutely love this, and you know what, a lot of people retire, you know, when they've, you know, I don't think your brain's ever going to retire, Sue, or you're talking, but anyway, it's pretty wonderful. But you know, a lot of people sort of say, oh, you know, they turn up to work 9 to 5, they do their thing, you know, and they're like, oh, I can't bloody wait to retire. I'm going to enjoy myself, love myself sick, and then they retire, and then they don't do anything, you know, and they actually get sick. Like a lot of people do get sick and die early, because they're just kind of like, they stop and they don't, nothing, they've got no passion, they've got no, you know, like you're saying, you had something to wake up for, and you still do. You do your traveling and you do stuff. You got something to wake up for every day. And I just think that what you're talking about, you've touched on so many points, you know, as to, it doesn't have to be the Traveller Caravan Club. You just like there's so many other groups of people that get out in their caravans and travel around Australia, and you don't even have to go that far. Just travel a little distance and meet people and sort of really live your life. And I'm a real caravan addict. You know, we had a little Franklin, and we wouldn't be allowed in your club, but no, it was a little like 12-footer. And it developed leaks, and I was so disappointed. And we ended up selling it for 2 kayaks that we've only used once. But anyway, whatever. You know, we're always scanning for a new caravan. You know, and should we or shouldn't we? Should we just go to cabins? I don't know. Should we? But caravanning, I've got so many fond memories from when I was a kid, and I think that caravanning is so versatile. You know, there's just so many places you can go, and you've got your home with you, and you know, and the friendships and the connection, and you know, I reckon life's too short, and we don't know what's around the corner, and I reckon just get out there and meet people and be with people and make friends and make connections and
talk to people. You've got to talk to people, communicate.
True.
Like there's a lot of caravan parks we've been into where people put their shades up and they nearly bunker down. You know, we don't do that. We don't have shades and stuff that we do that hide behind. We want to talk to people, and you find out where to go, where to eat, what to look at, where not to go, where the fish are hiding, like there's a whole range of things that it's just a matter of communication, and it's really getting off the bench and making it happen. You can have a quiet holiday where you don't talk to anyone if that's what you prefer, or you want to go and free camp somewhere under a tree, that's fine too. But I'm not like that. I love talking to people, and I've since been back over to the Shire, to the information centre, and I'm going on there on a voluntary basis.
Oh, good.
Centre. Yeah, they really want me to come over and join in with them. Michael, who's the team leader over there, he's a fabulous guy. And I was talking to him the other day. He said, yes, you have letters coming through. So I'm going to imagine all the people I can talk to at the information centre. Oh, it's fabulous. It's going to be so good. And it's also, when they have their events, when they have their air show and all those things, I can go and talk to more people.
Sue, but you've actually got to stop talking so they can go and do their thing.
I know. It's me being passionate about where we live, what we do.
I know.
And I really put it all back to that COVID testing centre that I was the team leader in, because it just opened my eyes how much pleasure I get out of giving back to people and creating a team. If your team is no good, your business is no good. You've got to have that vibrant team. You've got to have a fun portion of your team, because if you don't, you won't have a team. And you're always striving for the best outcome. And I sort of chose to do the extravaganza a bit on my own, because I thought, then I've only got myself to blame if it doesn't work out. No, I did. I thought, I don't want to have to say, oh, geez, you shouldn't have done it that way, or maybe how could we have done it that way. I was only questioning me, and with the Shire's support in the background there, I sort of knew I was on the right track. But I found the group that we were a team. In the group, we're a team. That's how I looked at it, and that's how I love to work. It's really important, really.
But I also think that the Shire and the information centre and all the local businesses giving their stuff, like that is a team. Even though it might be just you organising it, it's still everybody coming together, and the fact that your leadership in that sense. You are leading these people to to help and to support and everything else. Like you're the linchpin that's keeping it all together. And I think there's what are the words? There's qualities that need to sit in a person to do that. You can't be dominating people, and you can't be blocking people out. And there's something about the personality and the qualities and the character of a person who can pull these things together, and have people jump on board. It's not everyone can do it, and it's it is a quality. However, I shouldn't say it like that, because what I want to encourage other people to do similar to what you've done, and to say to them, get off the bench, have a crack at it. So it's not necessarily that nobody can do it, but if you're going to do it, you've got to consider how am I treating other people around me, and how am I involving them, and I love the thought of knowing your why. Why am I doing this? And when you know that and you're passionate about why you're doing, you just sell it anyway. It oozes out, and people say, oh shit, oh, I want some of that. Oh, let me in. So
depends too on the situation, like when we're in the COVID testing site, we come across anomalies all the time, and it was very team based in the sense that, okay, right, this lady's going to come through on her bike to get a PCR test, and she's not allowed, she's got to be confined, and how are we going to get around doing that sort of stuff, very much team involvement with ideas and solutions and things in that environment. When you're coming across anomalies and issues, and you think, hang on a minute, we can't have this happen again tomorrow, because we've got to get these people through. So it was really, really team involvement there. Whereas what I did with this was a bit different in the sense that it was always, well, even though I had a few stumbling blocks along the way, it wasn't like it was at the COVID site. Two entirely different things.
Yeah.
But you still got to have fun along the way, But you've got to get to your desired outcome.
Yeah.
And we had very strict stats had to meet for those COVID testing sites. The rules were always changing. People would get there confused. They didn't know. They said, oh, it's changed again last night. What have we got to do? And, we had to be up to date, and we had to make sure that the public knew that we were competent in what we were doing and telling them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'd have to say, if you're not sure, ring the COVID hotline. We aren't the government. Ring the COVID hotline. And people were frantic. People were frantic. We had people there in tears. We had a woman there whose father had just passed away, and they couldn't hold the funeral, and she just sat in the car and cried for half an hour. And and we had all that sort of stuff we had to deal with. A lot different to what the extravaganza was, but it's still problem solving. It's still that thinking outside the square. And
yeah, but there's something else that I'm seeing that you might not be seeing. So in your character, in your leadership, and that is transparency. And which goes across both of those two things. Do you had your really solid team at the COVID site, but you were saying to them, guys, I don't know, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? I don't know what to do with the bloody bike. How are we going to measure? How are we going to work this out? And so the transparency was, well, I don't have all the answers, so let's talk about it. And then at the extravaganza, it's kind of like, well, all this went wrong, and I'm just going to be honest about it. I'm just going to be transparent about it.
Yeah, that's right.
And that is good. That's good leadership in any situation, because if you're just trying to be, oh, well, I don't want anyone to think I'm an idiot, I can't say anything, that shit doesn't work, because people can see through you,
Yeah. Well, see, Friday night when we got back from dinner, we went out to Sporting Legends for dinner, 45 of us. We got back from dinner, and there's the blow-up screen was there. Everyone's gone, get their rugs and their camp chairs to sit and watch. And I walked over to Michael. He was there with Rob from the Info Centre, and he said to me, we can't get the projector to talk to the DVD player. We can't play the film. And I went, okay. I thought, right, now what will I do? So I thought, right, people were coming with their chairs and blankets and ready, nearly had their popcorn and stuff ready to watch the movie. And I thought, I've got to do something. So I ran over to the caravan, and I got my little boom box, and I went back over to the movie screen, and we're going to watch The Man from Snowy River. So I got The Man from Snowy River soundtrack on my phone and played it on the boom box. And people just sat down and just relaxed and just waited. Yeah. And, if I hadn't have done that, they would have thought, oh, well, this is no good, it's not going to work, we're going back to the caravan, and we're in the caravan. But I set an atmosphere, and people just went, okay, it'll come on soon. And it did. They got it to work. So it's a matter of that sort of lateral thinking, is how am I going to fix this without showing that it's actually really could be a stuffer and there's going to be no movie at all, But it didn't, and it worked well. And we sat there and watched that movie, and honestly, the quality of the sound and everything that come through the speakers that were on the ground, a couple of times during movie one of Man from Snowy River, a couple of times I thought there was a bloody cow coming in the showground. How good the sound effects were I'm thinking, hell, where's that cow come from? It was so good. And the birds in the trees, and I literally thought there were birds in the trees, but it was 10 o'clock at night, so why would there be birds twittering in the trees? But, you know, everyone just said how amazing was that to sit out. It was like being at the old drive-in theatre, you know, sitting outside watching a movie under the stars. And one of the ladies come up to me and she said, oh, can we watch movie 2? And I went, oh, shivers, it's 10:30. Do you think we should go to bed? But, you know, without just putting that music on, I would have lost a lot of those people. They would have all vamoosed back to their vans.
Yeah.
So,
well, so I've loved this. I've absolutely loved this. It's you know, and now normally I would ask, now where can people find you? But I'm not going to, because, you know, I get people on here that have got businesses and websites and all that kind of stuff and want people to go follow them. You are quite private on your Facebook page and everything, you know, and in your personal life. But so I'm not going to do that. But I will say that, you know, there may be some people who do want to contact you and reach out to you and say, Sue, I'd love to do that in my town. And I don't know, you know, where to start. Are you happy if people send me an email and I can get them onto you? Do you want to do,
that? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that. Yeah. I'm in my element when I'm event planning. I've worked that out.
Well, I love it. So if anyone wants to send, just go through my karenvaughan.com website. You can send an email through there and just, you know, head it up, Sue, or whatever you want to do. You know, where can I find Sue? Whatever, and I'll get it to Sue for you. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been fantastic, and I really think that, you know, the way you've walked us through it, it's kind of like, oh, so this happened, then this happened, then I think it's made it really realistic for people, you know, to say, well, if I wanted to do that, and how ideas come about, and how, oh God, I've got an idea, that would be fantastic, you know, and just how to piece it together, and it's been phenomenal, and I'm so freaking glad that it was such a success. I really am, and yes, we live in a beautiful area. We really do.
We do. And I mean, I've had a lot of people comment on the page saying they just didn't even want it to end. They wanted it to continue. And I thought, you know, that sort of feedback is just amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And, you know, you just got to look outside the square, ask for a bit of help and support, and it opens doors for you.
Well, you need a bloody big pat on the back, because I think you've done a phenomenal bloody job. You really have. So
thanks, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. I loved every bit of it.
I know. I know. I was watching. It's fantastic.
For the roulette flyover, like, goodness me.
I think that's fantastic, because where we live in Sale, it is we get a roulette show, like, you know, a couple of times a week while they're practicing and that sort of stuff. So I reckon that, just don't worry, Sue, just say you organise it.
Yeah. But the thing is, I didn't even see it because I was coming out of the building. That was the worst part.
Yeah, well, we are pretty blessed to be living up here, but you get it most of the time, Sue.
Yeah, that's right.
They're going over every day. It's just
I didn't even hear them because I hear them all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, I run outside. Oh, me boys, and I run outside the door and watch them, and especially when they're, you know, really practicing, like really practicing as a group, and their loops and stuff. But they're phenomenal as well. But anyway, Sue, thank you so very much. And
yeah, that's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. All right, we'll catch up soon. Probably see you next door. Okay.
No doubt.
See ya.
Bye.
Ta-da.